Today I'm going to show you my 2019 Mustang GT. Let's get a cold start and take her out. I bought this car 3 years ago about. It was a 2019 Mustang GT California Special. Obviously it doesn't look too much like a California Special anymore. A lot done to it. Nardo gray wrap, used to be black, but I got bored of taking care of the black, as you can see. First thing I wanted to do to it, growing up, I wanted a fast car. This was my first ever V8. Before this, I had a 2016 Mustang EcoBoost. Built that fully, and I just sold that, so now we're stuck with this. The C6 over there, don't mind the Honda. And then we got the 3-valve, which I will show you later on. Of all the cars I own, this one's definitely the favorite. I'm starting to really love the C6 over here. I got it almost a year ago. Nothing's really done to it. I'll go into that car later on. There's a lot that goes into that one, especially with the 3-valve. I just bought that one a few months ago, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. This car is pretty much finished. I think after I'm done with these other two, maybe I'll get into it some more. I kind of want to put a fuel system in it, get over 700 horsepower, but we'll see. Right now it's running 650-ish. Haven't got a dynoed. Haven't really done a lot to it ever since I finished it. Yeah, let's get into what's done with this car. The first thing I did with this car was get rid of the taillights. I didn't have a problem with the red, but I always liked the white a lot more. Now they're turning yellow, unfortunately, but we got some brand new ones finally that we'll install during the summer when I actually decide to drive this. Also, don't mind how dirty it is. I haven't washed it. It's wintertime. That's my excuse. But at least it's not black anymore, because that would show a lot. So when I first bought the car, I knew I wanted to whipple it. Obviously it's whippled, but there was a few things I had to do before that. We put an H-pipe, and the headers came in actually after the whipple. But the first thing that I actually did was the taillights and the H-pipe. The headers are obviously different, Texas Speed. The mufflers, though, we got it with an active exhaust, so the muffler stayed. So it still has an active exhaust, but if you're looking for a S550 Mustang, I would not recommend active exhaust. It has way too many problems. You are bound to run into problems with it. I've already had to replace it once, and I've had to grind out around the muffler system. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try and show you. But I had to grind out right up there around it. Just because the car, every time it would hit a bump or something, it would start cutting the wires. So I had to grind around the wires, and well, it's finally working. Ish. Sometimes. We got fuel pump gears inside. We also did that when we did the Texas Speed headers. I don't know if you can see them very well. If you see any heat wrap, that's because my AC lines run up against the Texas Speed headers. So if you're getting Texas Speed headers, just know you're going to run into that problem. They also hit a little bit on the car, but you can work around that one. But if you're looking to dyno it, you're probably going to get a false rattle. I haven't had a check engine light though, so we'll see where that leads. I've actually never had a problem with this car. Well, other than traction. But I feel like that's needless to say. Obviously, I'm going to have a problem with traction. I'm running triple R2 Nittos in the backs with the VMS. Don't mind me. I'm dyslexic. The VMS drags pack. The Nittos haven't been too bad. Traction, always an issue. But if you're looking for tires, I'd recommend these, or I would just run these. Obviously, there is a lot of exterior things that I had to do with it, like the hood. The hood is probably one of my favorite things. It has a window in the middle, and it sits right over the Whipple, which I think is probably my favorite thing about the car, especially how the wrap goes around the hood and it just fits perfectly in the grooves. It's a carbon hood. I got it, I think even before I got the Whipple. I think I was just planning for the Whipple, and so we ended up with that hood. So we got the hood. Also inside the car, we got the carbon steering wheel, LED. I don't use it very often, so if you're looking, it kills the battery if you leave it plugged in. So I just always forget to actually plug it in. So I kind of just drive around with the LEDs off, which you could argue is a little waste of money, but we don't talk about that. Other than that, the inside is completely stock. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to the inside. I just wanted the carbon steering wheel to spice it up a bit. Now, would I recommend daily driving this car? And it's a yes. Now, in times like these where it's icy, probably not. But I feel like I don't need to get into that. This car drives great supercharged. When you're below three grand or 3 RPMs, you don't even really notice that it's supercharged, which out of all the cars I own, this one has been probably the best to drive. And if you're just going out to town, grocery shopping or something like that, I would definitely recommend having fun with this car or just taking it out. It's I don't know really the word for it. It's just, you would never know that a Whipple was sitting inside this car. Now, if you're going out to have fun, you'll definitely know it's supercharged. It doesn't really whine a lot, like all the Hellcats and But when you're hitting the gas, you'll definitely hear a bit of whine sometimes. Not always, I've noticed. It's kind of weird. You'll hear the belt drive, but it's not always a whine. I thought that was odd when I first supercharged the car, but I've heard if you had an open intake maybe, that it whines a little more just because of the air. But then again, don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. Maybe one day I'll experiment with it. If you're wondering if you can install this kit, you can. It's super easy. I got it done in a week, and the reason it took that long is just because I was working. It's pretty easy to install. The Whipple sends you directions, a whole pamphlet. It's like probably 50 pages of how to install this kit. And so really all you need to do is just take the front bumper off. And as long as you got some time, I do recommend either putting it on blocks, or if you have a lift, that would probably make it easier, just because you're gonna have to mess a lot with the radiator. And then there is a coolant tank right here under the headlight. So it's easier when it's lifted, because you will have to get underneath the car sometimes. But I mean, even then, I still think it's possible to do, even when it's not lifted. It would just make it a whole lot easier. If you're thinking about getting one of these, yeah, I definitely think you'd be able to install this all yourself. When I got this car, I wasn't very mechanically inclined. I didn't know much, and I still did it. So I think as long as you got time and you can read, you'll be just fine. Now, I said earlier that I think I'm done with this car. Obviously, it's gonna wait until the C6 over there is done and this 3 valve's done, but I'm not fully sure. I wanna get it dynoed. I wanna see where it's at. I'm guessing it's around 650 horsepower, but I'm not certain. I really wanna get to the 700-800 range with this car, but recently I haven't been driving a lot. I don't race it a whole ton, so it's just been an off and on thing in my head whether I should really get into this car. Like I said earlier, a fuel system, maybe run some E85, but I've also thought about the stage 2 kit on this. We'll see where things take it. I'm curious what you guys think. But before I do that, I definitely need to figure out the traction issue. From a dig, you just spin. But I've noticed maybe around 40, 45 miles an hour, I can start hooking a bit. But again, it's not 100%. Everybody's going to have traction issues. But these Whipples definitely put that on watch. Other than that, I don't think there's any problem I've ever had with this car other than traction. Now, as I was looking around, there is one thing I do want to fix on this car. I think I need to lower it a bit, or at least get a bigger tire in the front, because this gap here has always bugged me. I think it's hideous. There is way too much gap. Look at this. 4 fingers. 4 fingers in here. That is way too much. This is a 35, so I was thinking maybe get a bigger tire wall, but I don't know how much that would fix that. Back here though, I think this is pretty much perfect. Yes, it could tuck in a little more, but this is about 2.5 fingers width. I think it looks aggressive. I don't think I would need to mess with it. What do you guys think? But I think the front definitely needs to be fixed a little bit. Other than that, I'm not too sure on what else I'd want to do with this car. I want to be able to drive it every day. Like I said, it's such an easy car to just drive around. There's nothing I have to worry about when I drive it around. Even just, you'd normally think a supercharged car wouldn't make a great daily. I could drive this to work every day if I wanted. Unless it's winter. But again, I feel like I don't need to get into that. Other than that, I think that's really about all that goes into this car. These cars are just built different. You don't really have to build the Coyote motor. You could just slap a Whipple right on it. So I think if you're a beginner, now, if you're a beginner, you're new to cars, obviously I'm not going to recommend a V8 car. But that's your decision. So if you were to get a V8 and you don't know a whole lot, which, I mean, we could argue was me when I bought this car. I feel like this is a good beginner car. A Coyote motor, they're already built. You don't really need to get into it. You can do whatever you want to the car with it already being built just fine for a lot of horsepower. That's why I would definitely recommend a Coyote motor or an LS motor. But these are built more for NA. I'm thinking about pro charging this car, but I just bought this car a little bit ago, so we'll see where this one takes us. So for the next video, I'm thinking about taking the Corvette out, showing you guys that one, and then the 3-valve. Now, keep in mind, this one's a 10-speed automatic, 6-speed automatic, 5-speed manual. Yes, I know, I'm going to get a lot of hate. 2 automatics, 1 manual. But let's just forget about it. So for the next videos, I'm thinking about taking the Corvette out, showing you guys that one, and then the 3-valve and taking that one. But recently, I did get a Draggy, so I'm thinking about taking this out, showing you guys what it does. What do you guys think about that? Obviously, the video is going to be a little iffy. It all depends on if I can get traction. So this may be a better video for the summertime, but you know, we can still take this one out and have some fun. I think that pretty much sums up the car. If you guys have any other questions about it, leave a comment. I'll make sure to answer. I think next video, we're going to take out the C6 or the 3-valve. I'm not too sure which one I want to take out, but I'm leaning more towards the Corvette. But yeah, that is my 2019 Ford Mustang GT. And make sure to subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.